Well, everyone, the boss of Blizzard Entertainment has said that we are actually going to hear updates on Warcraft 3 Reforged in June. Now, this is also happening amid a lot of rumors that are sort of circulating in and around the people in the know with this game. I mean, the big name would be Grubby, if you're at all aware of Warcraft 3. So there's quite a lot to get into, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's a case of people are kind of actually ready for something to happen. Because in case you aren't aware, nothing's literally happened with Reforged since April last year.
Wild.
So it'll be about 14 months since the last patch, which was just a balance patch. None of the features have materialized whatsoever. None of the ladder, none of the profile. There are complaints about no moderation happening whatsoever in online play. So you just leave games. Nothing's actually happening there. So,
yeah, and a lot of those are things that they kind of said they would do.
Yeah,
and then it just didn't materialize.
Yep, because obviously, also if you're following, the team who were on it were disbanded in 2020. The classic team just gone. So it does leave you wondering, who's working on this? If you're going to announce something, who's actually doing it? Because you haven't hired anyone.
Yeah, so something has clearly been formed within the company to actually deal with this game.
Yeah, just quietly.
Yeah, so a little bit of recap, and oh man, the art style of that game is so... There's a layer of Raid Shadow Legends they, I think, ended up applying, and maybe that could be fixed. Anyway, to go into things, how did it all go wrong? Well, basically, it was never a priority of the company because it was a remaster of an old strategy game. Right, this was per Bloomberg's reporting, right? So kind of going into the sources and all of that. Look, Warcraft 3, it's an awesome game. It sold incredibly well. It defined so much of PC gaming, the MOBA genre. And bastards in charge of actually allocating resources to this project just decided, well, StarCraft 2? Nah. Warcraft? No. We need things that can sell millions and millions and millions of copies and have lots of recurring revenue. And there is absolutely no recurrent user spending in a game like this. So evidently that era of the company was not at all interested. And I can definitely say that is absolutely what that era of the company was interested in. Somebody decently positioned, well, they weren't when they talked to me, but they were decent a wee bit before that. And yeah, can't say names, but I think you probably would recognize actually. Was pretty much confirmed to me, yeah, all that Activision shit you hear, true. True as hell. We feel it all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's for sure.
It was happening, and of course, really Reforged was just when it became the most evident to players.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, basically, War 3 Reforged was announced. At the time of the announcement, I mean, they had, from the reporting we saw, they'd actually done quite a lot of work on basically a Warcraft 3 Reforged that would be kind of bringing some elements of the lore a little bit more up to date and going a lot more high effort, right? So new voice work being done, more dynamic camera angles, some design tweaks to missions, just all of that to kind of modernize the experience. And I think really make it a game that they could just say, hey, World of Warcraft only players that didn't play War 3, we've made this feel like a fresh, modern game with the characters you know and love. Go play. But it was never enough of a priority for that to actually be real. So basically, Blizzard kind of ended up doing this project out of obligation because they already took pre-orders on it. And, one of the things, pre-order came with the meat wagon mount in World of Warcraft. And I almost wonder if the promise of getting to replay a modern Warcraft 3 and, oh, look, I get a cool mount. Did that mount make them more fucking money than the game?
Almost certainly.
Ridiculous.
Almost certainly. I mean, that's a thing where they say, like, that was, whenever they took pre-orders, they weren't ready. That's what, they were actually saying to people at Bloomberg. Yeah, no, the game wasn't ready when we pre-ordered.
Yeah.
We were just told, release this. And all those promises they made about making it, like, this updated game, kind of less remaster, more remaster plus or closer to, like, raw remake kind of thing. That was stuff that they just kind of got confused about internally. Communications kind of went a little bit ski with. That's a word people recognize. And just Activision went, oh, money, get us some money. Well, Activision Blizzard, make us some money now. Sorry, we don't have anything else for you, just release it.
Yeah, and then it turned out that Rob Breidenbecker basically let's just say, an aggressive management style that was maybe not conducive to good results. So that didn't work out well. And then we heard from David Freed, who is a Warcraft 3 designer that actually went back to work in Reforged. I mean, what an opportunity. Imagine the excitement that so many of these staff will have had. Well, there were things in the works for War 3 Reforged that would have absolutely revitalized a classic game. And according to an Activision Blizzard spokesman, the central issue with Warcraft 3 Reforged was an early, unclear vision and misalignment about whether the game is a remaster or a remake.
Yeah, so that's the context. The project was absolutely destroyed from within and without for a whole bunch of reasons. They kind of didn't really know what they were doing, and they didn't have the money to do what they wanted to do, and they're also forced to release it early, and they also got disbanded after they released it, so they couldn't fix it.
Yep.
So that's why, a lot of people will be sitting wondering, well, what's different now? Obviously, it's been quite a while since any updates here. So it's like, what's actually changed at Blizzard? What's changed at Activision? And is there any kind of hope for this project to be what people want it to be, or even just any better whatsoever?
Yeah. So the main thing is, in light of the acquisition, a lot of people, myself included, look at the Age of Empires franchise. We see how well it has actually been treated by Microsoft. Even when Age of Empires 4 is the hot new thing, they're doing updates, like expansions, for Age of Empires, I think 2 and 3 Definitive Edition.
Yeah.
Just like new civs. That's just incredible. And there's actually some rumors going on right now that they are basically going to be doing a Master Chief Collection treatment. We're thinking to Gears of War.
Yeah, I think one rumor was either Gears of War or Fable, and then Tom Warren of The Verge basically hinted it was Gears of War. And that's a case of, well, that's an old franchise that, especially if you think about like the positioning of original Gears and how very, mid-2000s macho Xbox 360 that was. That's going to kind of struggle a little bit to get taken further, maybe, but they still care about the franchise. They think it has value to players, value to Xbox players. Hey, let's properly give it the love it deserves. And I know Master Chief Collection had a bit of a wind up to being actually considered good, but now you see Master Chief Collection's got a lot more players on average than Halo Infinite does, or at least did for a while there. And you're like, yeah, that's because they've given it the attention. So that's the kind of, those are the people who now, well, once it goes through, those are the people who will own Blizzard, people who actually respect what users want out of older franchises. And even if you want to be cynical about it, know how to make money out of old franchises. Because Reforged didn't make any money after all the refunds went through.
Yeah. Now, the other thing is the Warcraft IP,
yeah,
which is actually getting more attention, right? So there's been a bit of an executive level shakeup, some hiring and things like that going on with Warcraft in general. Okay? So a bit of the context here, of course, is Overwatch 2. Where is it? We know there's the beta, but that beta, the PvP, that's a free update. The Overwatch 2 PvE that they get to make loads of box copy sales on, nobody knows.
Where is it?
Obviously, there's Diablo Immortal, but broadly speaking, the importance of World of Warcraft has increased as Blizzard have struggled in other areas, right? So what we've had here is that basically Jonathan Haidt, who used to be the executive producer on World of Warcraft, he is now the general manager of Warcraft at a franchise level with Holly Longdale that people might recognize, going way back from EverQuest, but then of course also from the WoW Classic stuff. So Holly is now the executive producer of World of Warcraft and Classic. So we've got that going on, and just a few more like creative director and narrative director on World of Warcraft as well. So they're taking some of those things more seriously.
Yeah.
Then, of course, Warcraft Arc Light Rumble War. They want to make king money by doing a different take on Clash of Clans. So there's that. Then World of Warcraft is, in addition to those roles I talked about, also just generally hiring up. And when you look at Dragonflight, you see them not really bolting on shiny shit. Instead, there's more of a focus on core game fundamentals that will last the test of time. It's a marked departure from how Legion, Battle for Azeroth, and Shadowlands were developed. So that's all good. Yeah,
after World of Warcraft, basically, for the first time ever, took 2 hits in a row, effectively. Because it was always like good expansion, bad expansion. Now I've had 2 expansions that have kind of failed a little bit. Not in sales, but in terms of general longevity of the franchise. and everything that happened in 2020 and 2021, I think they are just like, this franchise was way more important than we thought. Maybe we, Blizzard, aren't as good at spinning up IP as we believed we were. Oh shit, they've like eaten a helping of humble pie and now have to go, oh, we have to actually respect Warcraft fans now. And that's why they're kind of actually giving it that lease of life. And I mean, to me, it seems, anytime a big move happens from a company like this, I expect it's out of desperation.
Yeah.
Especially looking at what Activision have done and looking at like how Vanguard was like, oh shit, is our massive boat Call of Duty? Are there holes in it? Shit.
And similar with Warcraft. And then you have to remember, there's been many Activision Blizzard earnings calls where World of Warcraft and Call of Duty are highlighted as the two big things.
Yep, absolutely.
Especially in the post-Overwatch decline era. So these things are important to them. As for what they could do, well, could there be a major patch in the works since 2021? So
could be, yeah.
Mike Ybarra has apparently confirmed there was a patch incoming on his Twitch stream. And that is a novel thing too. The boss of Blizzard Entertainment regularly just streams playing games on Twitch.
Yeah, I can't remember if it was this or something different because there's a couple of different times he spoke about it. But very specifically, he was literally asked by someone in chat, any news on Warcraft 3 Reforged, and he goes, nothing that I am aware of, but I will speak to the team. I'll see what comms could go out anytime soon for that because, there is a team literally working on it.
Yeah.
So we don't know anything about that team or who they are or where they are. All we know is they are working on it because he said so, basically.
There has then been a rumor floating around that they're basically going to de-raid Shadow Legends things.
Yes.
A lot of people, I mean, myself very much included. I think for some people, they see something and it looks a bit more photoreal and there's more pixels and they're like, oh, look at that, more detail, happy.
Better, yeah.
I look at Warcraft 3 Reforged and I think, where did the art style go? Hello?
Yeah.
Right? So there is a rumor floating around. It's the sort of one where it seems like people have maybe heard something, but they can't say where they've heard it from, and it's just floating around this circle of people who are broadly in the know about things, but we can't really confirm it. But apparently there's going to be some sort of graphical update. Now, the thing is, they have not been hiring people specifically for this, but then, of course, Vicarious Visions, the whole company, was merged into Blizzard Entertainment. They're mostly working on Diablo 4, from what we understand. They also did Diablo 2 Resurrected, but maybe.
Yeah, that's a thing where they had a full team that was, the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater size team. That's a big game. Diablo 2 was also a big game. But also, you can kind of see, that was finished in September. So you could see how they would be able to divert some of those resources. Could go to Diablo 4, because basically everyone they're hiring for Albany, for their Blizzard Albany is now called, as opposed to Vicarious Visions, everyone they're hiring for them is hiring for the Diablo 4 project. So I haven't seen anything else. But at the same time, they could have, some of the resources that they don't need for DTR, especially considering they're a remaster specialty studio, they're a porting studio, they're a remaster studio. If almost out of nearly any studio in the world, you went, here's an old game, here's sort of how it works, here's some documentation, go make it happen now, they would probably be the best for that, and they demonstrated that with the D2R.
Yep.
Because that is basically D2 remade in a pretty brilliant way. So I think that's a case of I think that might be them. Just because I think Blizzard internal resources, I don't know if they super have that free.
Yeah, they're kind of allocated to other things, and that team was destroyed.
Yeah.
Now, to move on to what the community wants, one of the figureheads of this community, I mean, I've known of Grubby for such a long time, playing StarCraft and everything, is Grubby, right? In the War 3 community, he's been a pro player for a very long time. Talked about what the community wants as he sees it. So the first thing is that W3 Champions made a ladder system, and that's basically keeping the game from a multiplayer sense alive. Mm-hmm. He is worried that with this being a third-party piggyback service, that Blizzard could maybe kill it.
Yeah.
So there's obviously worry there. He said that Blizzard don't deserve the community, but they are there for Blizzard if Blizzard wants help. Basically the idea of hey, you have fucked us over so much. They want actual moderation for the game. Basically, as you said, moderation ain't happening.
Yep.
Right? So there's nobody's doing anything.
Yeah, the way Grubby said it is BattleNet reports are just going into the void. Just straight up gone. There's probably some task management or some support software racking up all these tickets and just the chair is empty because they don't have anyone looking at it.
Yep.
Brutal.
He says the custom maps that are relying on Reforged models should be preserved, even if Reforged is, being reworked visually.
Yeah.
And that's just the thing. Man, the community thinks something's going on there.
Yeah, that's what I found that particularly interesting, because it had those vibes of everyone knows about this, everyone's under NDA or don't want to get their source in trouble, so they don't literally say, but they all kind of act as if it's happening, because a lot of that open letter video was about, if you're changing this, be careful not to damage this. And that was for ladders, that was for custom maps and the visual models, that was kind of maintaining the art style and graphics for any changes, and that was a pretty big part of it overall. So I feel like they might have, not sure if anything big will be announced for soon, but I feel like if something is going to happen in June, it very much is going to be here. We're sorry it looks like this, it'll look different. We're very sorry again, at least hopefully.
Yeah, and then also a community balance patch.
Yeah, because I think the recent balance patch of, I say recent, April 2021, I think some of that didn't go down super well.
Yeah.
I'm not super sure because that game's complicated to actually get a grasp on, to be honest. But
and then, of course, some of the features, they were kind of, just some of the features like, custom campaigns, ladder, global custom games, profiles, that sort of thing. And also maybe a community manager.
Yeah, so just, some of the promised features.
Yeah.
Or some of the features that were in the old game. Can we have them back, please? That would be nice. In the remake that just removed half the game. Sweet, thanks. But yeah, that's the thing where this is definitely from the angle of a Warcraft 3 veteran and multiplayer player. I feel like, because obviously none of this really deals with the promises they made from the overall perspective of players. And I think for me, on a grand scale, on the can they get a headline that people are actually resonating with, can they right the wrong of Reforged? And to be fair, I think it would have to be not like a full No Man's Sky, but it would have to be a, hey, we know we have video footage of what we promised you. We're going to make that.
Yeah.
Or we're going to try to make that at the least. This may not make us profit. This may not be, a financially sensible decision in the short term, but we have to put the resources into giving you the game we promised you. I feel like that's the only thing they can do. Because, obviously it'd be nice to make the multiplayer community happy, but that wouldn't right those wrongs. That would be a bandage on this just gaping wound that they haven't really addressed and is just festering. So I hope they do something pretty major. I hope that's what the announcement is. I hope it is, we're sorry, we really fucked this up. We'll do it properly this time. But I can't say if that's going to happen.
On the art style front, we just want to highlight from the OC Drummers video.
Yep.
Basically just, so like you can see, obviously, the original War 3 here. This is kind of like a SD plus model in a way.
Yep, from the StarCraft 2 engine that they added for custom games in 2015.
Yep.
Why did you not just use these?
And it's funny, because if you look at that, right? Sure. It doesn't look, it's not as high poly or high resolution as the War 3 Reforged version of that character. But the War 3 Reforged version of that character isn't even authentic to what that character looks like. That's one thing. It's got a different haircut, looks weird. It's like a weird buzz thingy. But this is like the art style and the readability of the game is preserved. That's kind of important. Because if you look at War 3 Reforged with the new assets, the readability's in the bin compared to the original game.
Yep, absolutely.
And that means it's just not the same thing. And here's, again, looking at like some other assets. They could have just used these. I have a feeling that what happened with War 3 Reforged is they wanted these like in-game models that they could maybe also use in cinematics.
Yeah.
And maybe that's what changed the requirements for like what the facial rig is supposed to be able to do. But from a gameplay perspective, I think it's a pretty self-evident thing.
Yeah, that's the thing where I think, especially now that people are looking at these and going, well, these have all been in StarCraft 2. And we know what you did with Heroes of the Storm as well, where you took a bunch of Warcraft characters and made them look beautiful. Why did we not have this? And that's the thing where, you immediately go, well, obviously they had more ambitious plans and it didn't work out. And that's a failure of management. That's a failure of production. That's a failure of like the whole project, as opposed to like just a easy mistake to make. It was a very just complex situation. But that's the thing when people are like, here's the fix. You have all this.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, it can be annoying definitely sometimes for developers and publishers and stuff to have just, people in the stands, people in the audience go, why'd you not do it the way I would have done it? You're like, well, you know, there's obviously problems with being like armchair dev. But for this case, it's still a massive PR hit for people to go, listen, we can see what you've done. We know what you're capable of. Why are you making these dumb mistakes? Why can you not just give us what we want? It's so simple. And that's, I think, the point. It's so simple. Just don't make Reforged bad. So that's the legacy they have to kind of deal with now and kind of correct. Though it's interesting, I don't know when this is going to happen, actually. Because I thought this would be a Summer Games Fest thing.
Oh.
But looking at the partners announced, Activision's there, but not Activision Blizzard. So I think they may have their own little thing planned for June time. Somewhere maybe a little bit after the first wave of Summer Games Fest news.
Interesting. Well, potentially that could indicate they're more just wanting to address their community rather than a massive marketing thing. But look, that's basically it. There's not too much else. So today we've covered what the leader of Blizzard has said, and then, of course, the kind of community, A, wish list, and then B, the kind of rumors that are swirling about. Ultimately, for Blizzard to be respected again, they need to get this right. They need to right this wrong. Let's hope that whatever happens in June is either very comprehensive or is just the first in a decently long announced, set of plans to actually do right by the community. Perhaps we have it in June they come in and they fix it up for the multiplayer crowd and say, hey, single player, we're working on that. Here's a rough timeline.
Yeah, it just needs the first step to rebuild the trust. Because otherwise I do think like no matter what they do on World of Warcraft, no matter what they do with Overwatch, this is like just an axe hanging over their head.
It's just
it deserves to be.
It's a mark in their reputation.
Yep.
This is the game, I think more than really any other blunder, this is the one that like shattered the idea of like every Blizzard release is good.
Yep. This is, was it like in the 50s or something on Metacritic? Something grim like that? Or was it down to 30? Anyway, it was embarrassingly low. It was brutal.
So there you go. That's the story. Hopefully we get some good news from this sort of newer era of things. And with that, well, check out the video really to... Wow. With that said, check out the video we did yesterday, and we'll catch you next time.